Hey everybody, Adam Guthrie here, the founder of I Feel Good magazine. And I'm super excited today because I have somebody that eats a whole food plant-based diet and has transformed her health in incredible ways. Her name is Julie Blake. And Julie, a few years ago, had incredibly bad psoriasis. She had it for 30 years. She tried everything she could to get rid of it. And then she started to eat a whole food plant-based diet and it disappeared within 2 weeks. And it's now like almost 2 years later and it's never come back. Not only that, she also had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And she says she was overweight and she'd lost weight quite easily eating this way. So, Julie, how are you? Thanks for coming and sharing a bit of time with us and using your story to inspire others to eat a whole food plant-based diet. How are you?
I'm good, Adam. How are you?
I'm super good. So let's have a chat about like how you believe psoriasis came about for you, and what sort of, before you were whole food plant-based, what sort of foods did you grow up on, and throughout your adult life, what sort of foods were you eating, and do you think they were related to, you know, your high cholesterol and your psoriasis?
Well, I guess I grew up in I was born in the late 50s and grew up during the 60s, and we had a very traditional diet at home, which was pretty common around the place. So it was basically your roasts, your meat and your 3 veg with some dessert if you were lucky. Nothing out of the ordinary back then. Mum just used to cook that type of food, you know, the chops and the sausages under the grill, and they'd catch on fire, and so they were charcoaled, and then she'd boil the life out of the vegetables until they were unrecognisable, and so that was what was presented to us most nights.
Wow. Table. So are you a better cook than your mum now?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. In fact, when Mum comes to stay, she loves staying now because she really enjoys the food, and she finds that, as she says to me, Julie, I'm a lot more regular when I come and eat at your place. And she appreciates and notices the difference even in that short time she comes to stay. She's open to trying those new foods, and so she's feels better eating it even in that short time that she might be coming to stay with us. So
that's amazing, isn't it? Just in that, like if she stays for a weekend or a week, how people can feel the difference just by eating plants in their whole form. It really does happen that quick, doesn't it? Is that your experience?
Mm. Yes, absolutely. That was my experience with the food. I noticed it, and the changes happened very quickly too. So it was easy to keep going because once those changes started, it just seemed silly to go back to the other way that I had been cooking and eating myself.
You're basically eating what everyone does, most people do, is the typical Western diet. You know, you'd go around to a friend's place, or you go out for dinner and the big cheese platter would come out and you'd have the barbecue with the meats, and, you know, then we might start playing around with some Italian or Thai or, you know, different cuisines started to come in, and lots of oils and the typical type food that we all started to eat, after the meat and free veg.
Absolutely. That was absolutely it. And in the 80s, there was a lot of dinner parties. Dinner parties were in, and it was just a full-on affair. You just would cook all day and clean all day and have I don't know why, and have these 5 courses of very heavy foods and drink too much probably, and have coffee late at night. And that was something that was being done as well during those years. So none of it health promoting at all, but was just, it was a cool thing to be doing back then, it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that.
I'm bored with all of that.
My parents, had the same thing, the dinner parties, I remember it all. And, none of them didn't think that eating this way would lead to disease back then. Oblivious to it. At what point did you realise that there was something wrong with your health?
Okay, I guess for me, my experience coming into whole food plant-based eating and living was different. It wasn't necessarily health-driven originally. They were just the huge benefits I got from it with the things that I did have. And I guess what I did have that was existing then, I had just come to live with. My psoriasis I'd had for so long, I just dealt with it. I didn't, wasn't something I wanted, but I had just tried a lot of things to get rid of it and nothing had worked. With my high cholesterol, I had been put on statins and my mother suffers from it, and I just accepted that as where I was going to be heading health-wise. Because I wasn't, a big girl, I was at the top end of my BMI, but all the weight I was carrying, the 5 or 6 kilos that I did lose, was all around my middle, around my organ, where the unhealthy fat is. So, and I just felt sluggish in the mind and in the body. Mentally, I was pretty flat a lot of the time. So I had just come to feel that was just the way it was going to be going, and I didn't have anybody saying you've got a major illness like diabetes or cancer. So I came into it actually through my daughter. She had been plant-based for about 3 years, and she brought it in as a bit of a family challenge, really. She would come for dinner, and I used to buy the Eat Well magazine, and in there were your recipes, Adam, and they were the ones I tended to cook, and they were always really good and really tasty, and everyone loved them. And so one day I thought I'd Google and see if you had a cookery book so that it would make my life easier when Nikki came for dinner. And also to perhaps have a few more of those meals because we all felt good after them. And no, you didn't have a cookery book, but you had this 4-week program. And so we then did it as a family challenge, my daughter and my husband and I. And from that, the health benefits started for myself and my husband. My daughter's been well because she eats and lives this way for some time, and she was always a great inspiration, but it wasn't sort of something I ever thought I would follow or want to do. So that was how I actually came to think about eating this way. It was a bit different to getting sick perhaps, and then looking at what are other ways people can eat well to promote their health.
That's an interesting way how you came into it, good on your daughter. But isn't that interesting? Just from a magazine, a few recipes I had in a magazine, you were making that to be able to be a great mum to feed your daughter when she came over for dinner a plant-based meal. Wow, that blows me away that actually happens. Just from a small little recipe in a book can have such an impact on just being a parent and also then lead into transforming people's health. That's amazing. So you and your family did this, started eating a whole food plant-based diet through my program. And
yes, what
happened? So tell me about psoriasis though. What is psoriasis for those that don't know?
Okay, so psoriasis is a skin condition, and I believe it's autoimmune, and what happens are the cells build up on top of themselves, they don't shed properly, and then they become inflamed and itchy, they can bleed, and they vary from very big patches to smaller areas of your body. It's very unsightly and very uncomfortable, particularly if it's warm weather. So it's not a nice thing to have, and quite frankly, I had tried whatever was on offer. I did try cortisone creams for a while, but they just weakened the skin, and I just thought, no, I'm not going there. It was just a Band-Aid fix. And so for me, it was just really, well, this is what you have. You're just going to have to live with it. And I must admit, I used to cover up more parts of my body you know, I often wear clothes that weren't right for the weather because I just didn't want those parts of my body on show.
Mm.
Fortunately, it was never really on my face, or, you know, a lot of people have very bad psoriasis that yeah, not that they should be embarrassed, but it can be very unsightly.
So you started to eat a whole food plant-based diet. You've had this psoriasis for 30 years. And tell us what happens once you start to eat the food with the psoriasis and your experience of that, because you've been trying to get rid of it so long.
Yeah, yes. And I must admit, if nothing else had happened for me, that was it. That was just fantastic. It went within 2 weeks, which I couldn't quite believe. In fact, I used to wake up expecting it to have come back, or, you know, I'd scan my body. It was just crazy to think that for all that time that had been there, and then within 2 weeks of just eating plants and taking out all the rubbish, my skin healed itself. And, you know, I've been on this program now for 18 months or so, and I've had probably 2 tiny little patches come.
Wow.
And they've gone. And so yeah, that was phenomenal. Within 2 weeks, it was completely gone, and my skin's really good now. You know, it's healthy.
Looks great. Through the screen here, it looks really healthy.
Yeah, so I'm really blessed. That was such a great thing to be free of, because anything that's not right with your body, where your body's acting out, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, whatever that might be. And so it just made me feel great to not have to deal with that anymore. And all it took was realigning. Not all it took, because there's a bit involved with changing over from the way I was eating into eating whole food plant-based. But yes, that was my primary thing, and then the other couple of things followed, which were also, you know, really good things to have happen. And so today I feel really healthy.
What were the other things?
And I don't. So with my cholesterol had been high for many years, and I had been on statins, and it had even been up in the 8s at times. So, yeah, I asked my doctor if I could come off the medication while I was trying this way of eating, and I've got a really good doctor. She's on board. And so I think when I first started, it was around the 7 mark from memory, and my most recent numbers were my total cholesterol around 5. So I've still got a way to go with that. I'm probably due for some more blood tests. But it was the only time ever that I'd had any reduction in my cholesterol numbers apart from when I was on statins. So even though I'm outside of the range that's considered good to put you in heart attack proof mode, I'm still really happy with that, and it's continuing to go down. It's certainly not moving, not that it hasn't moved at all or that it's going up. It's actually come down a couple of points. So
wow, that's amazing.
So
and that's without statins.
That's without statins. That's just purely the diet. And
wow.
So that was another big tick. For me, that initial 4 weeks, I dropped 5 or 6 kilos. And the great thing was, it was around my midriff, where it was like I was like a little apple around there. And so, yeah, I've lost little bits here and there as well. But that was the big thing that I noticed, that I just didn't have that big tummy anymore, and my waist circumference came down 3 or 4 centimetres. I can't remember exactly, but it was a noticeable change in my body shape, and all that unhealthy fat around those organs was gone, and that hasn't come back. So again, a really big plus for optimal health, really.
Totally. What's it done to how it makes you feel on a daily basis, you know? Like, I can only imagine self-confidence would have increased because you didn't have to hide these rashes, and your body shape has changed. And
I just felt for the first time that I was feeling and looking the way that we are meant to feel and look when our diet is on track for what our body is looking for and needs. And then it just takes care of itself. It begins to do what it's meant to do. You're giving it the right fuel and you're moving it, and then all of a sudden your body's just doing what it's meant to do without any real effort from you except to be doing the right thing by it.
Mm.
So I felt, and I had a lot more energy, and my mood definitely improved and lifted. I didn't have that sluggish mind that went with the sluggish body, I guess.
That must be liberating to have a clearer mind.
Really?
Yeah?
Much clearer mind. I just didn't feel heavy and foggy.
Mm.
And also it's difficult when you can't see a different choice for how you might eat, even though I was eating the wrong foods and I didn't feel good after them, but I didn't really fully know how I was going to change that. It wasn't something, as I say, I was seeking, but it was such an instant change when it happened by proxy, and I'm really, really, really grateful that it did happen. I may not have sorted out for myself. I guess after, experiencing how good it can feel once you've done this it's a joy, and you can get on with other things then if you're feeling like your body's getting what it needs and doing what it should.
Yeah. So what do you do now what can you do now in your life that you couldn't do before? Now that you've got this, clearer mind, more energy, you're not having to spend your whole life thinking about food and your psoriasis and things. What sort of things do you do now that you didn't do before that you go, wow, God, that's great that I can do these things?
Yeah. Okay. So, I have a routine for the day. I was very undisciplined before. My day just used to roll in, had no real direction. So today I wake up naturally at a time normally between 6:30 and 7 for me, and I know that I'm looking forward to my breakfast. I'm hungry. I have a good breakfast, and then I usually go out and move. I don't always move in the morning, but I certainly do some sort of movement through the day, which was something I wasn't doing before either. So, and then I just feel happier. And if stuff comes up, I can deal with it better too. I just have loads more energy. I'm more interested in doing things, I guess, because I'm not just, harumphing around, not really having breakfast, not really even having lunch sometimes, and then eating the wrong foods as the day goes by, and then eating late at night, getting to bed late, oversleeping, waking up, feeling sluggish, beating up on myself, half the day's over. Those sorts of things, just it takes the purpose away. We all need to have a purpose. So I don't have any of that now today. And people notice that in me as well.
People notice that in you now too? What do people say to you now? Like I can just feel that, like to go from that sort of routine, that would be quite depressing. And I know because I've been there. To then all of a sudden have a more optimistic view on life. It's quite a special feeling and transformation to have that now on a consistent basis. But what do people say to you, like now that they can see that difference in you?
Well, some people really want to know what exactly is it that you're doing, and they often want to look into it more, and I'm more than happy to share the information and support them if that's what they want. As what I've found over time, people that were a bit sceptical, I think they're waiting for me to fall back into the old ways perhaps. This is because I have been someone in the past that's tried many, many things, not just around food but in general, never really stuck to it. So the people closest to me were probably thinking this is just another fad of Julie's. So as I've stayed on track and they've seen these changes in me, they've more people have come forward, not the ones that were probably, unwell or looking for other solutions to begin with. And there was a woman the other night who's quite unwell and quite overweight, and she approached me and said, "Oh, Julie, you always look so good, you don't seem to put on weight, you seem happy." I'm not happy all the time, by the way.
None of us are, so don't worry.
Yeah. And maybe the food, I know that you follow a certain food way of eating. Perhaps that's something I need to do. So she was more interested than she's ever been, and she's got health issues. So I think they are often, unfortunately, people can wait until they get sick. But if you see a good example of anything you're trying to achieve in front of you, then if you're ready, I think you ask the right questions. But particularly with health, people are really struggling with health issues, from young kids to adults and everything in between. And so, when someone seems to be doing well, who maybe have been sick or a similar age but look a lot, have more energy or better, more positive outlook, I guess, it just attracts people to ask those questions if that's what they want. If they don't want to know, it's the complete opposite, and they give you a really wide berth. That's cool too. That's cool too.
That's cool. But it must make you feel good that people are coming to you and asking, what are you doing? And then you're able to share some information with them that could benefit them. How does that make you feel?
Absolutely. It's the highest, absolutely. It's the highest thing you can do, I think, in life, is to direct someone towards a path that may take them to have a better experience in their life. So it's an honour to be approached and ask someone genuinely wanting to know, what is it that I need to do? And then it's up to them, I guess, how far they want to take it.
So, Julie, let's have a look at what you eat. First of all, you eat a whole food plant-based diet. So in your mind, what is a whole food plant-based diet to you? What are the principles of, what you make sure that you eat on a daily basis? What does it include? What does it not include? What's the whole food plant-based diet in your world?
Okay, exam time. So I've got a very clear picture today of what I need to eat for health, and that's my goal for each day, and I hit it most days. So primarily between 60 to 70% of my plate would be high water content vegetables, including leafy greens, so they're vegetables that grow above the ground, and fruits as well is included with that. So, cucumbers, capsicums, eggplants, tomatoes, all the fruits that grow. So that's the bigger portion of what I need to have on my plate. And then, 30%, 25 to 30% of starchy foods, things that grow underground, like your potatoes and grains and legumes. They make up the other portion of the plate. And then 5 to 10% of healthy fats, which are nuts, seeds, avocado, and olives. So plants that are in their whole form, as nature has grown them and handed them to us. So the complete fruit or vegetable, nut, seed, grain. That's what you eat. You eat those in those proportions, and that's what I'm aiming for each day, food wise.
When you used to eat meat and cheese and dairy, was it hard for you to drop those out of your diet and start eating what people would call rabbit food? Although we know that, you can do a lot of good dishes with that rabbit food. But was it hard for you to get rid of the meat and dairy and the junk food?
Okay. And yes, the food is amazing. No rabbit food at all. I suppose because it was a family challenge initially, and I had bought your program and it was all laid out for me, and I like a challenge. In that initial 4 weeks, and my husband was on board and my daughter, so we were all involved, and it was a really great, fun family thing to be doing, and I would have felt really bad if I'd been sneaking off on the side. So that was sort of helped me in the beginning. And then after that, as I say, I started to get the health benefits, so that made it easier as well. But it certainly wasn't without its challenges. Meat was never something that I craved or wanted to go back to. Cheese was an issue for me, and I believe, there's an opiate type, casomorphine, I think it's called. You can, that's very addictive in cheese. So once I understood that, I realised why that was the main one that if anything, I wanted to have, and I certainly did have some here and there. Early days with that, I never wanted the dairy milk. That I was really turned off that to begin with, and the foods weren't completely foreign to me, I suppose, because again with my daughter, I'd have those foods here, and I had tried them here and there, the plant milks and things like that. No, I didn't. It wasn't too bad for me, the transition, but I had, it was so well laid out for me, and I loved having a routine. I hadn't had a routine for so long in so many areas of my life. To have a focus of a program and what I needed to, really good information about why I would want to be doing this to begin with, the foods I needed to buy, the recipes I needed to cook, and the support that was available from day one with the community. I love the I Feel Good community. That was, that's so unique because it's not available. You can get online programs, or you can buy a book with a program in it, or but it's difficult because you're left on your own, and it's very easy to go back, I think, to the other way. So I think the combination of being on it long enough to see some results, having support, and really helped. So so I didn't have those big challenges. I ate a lot of chocolate. I ate a lot of lollies. I loved those sugary duped lollies of every colour under the sun that I used to mentally try and separate in my mind into a big pile of sugar, a big pile of colour, and I think that's about all that's in them anyway, and try and get into my mind how dreadful that would be just to sit and eat that. But it didn't stop me from having these sugary dupey lollies. And so, sugar had been a problem, but again, because there's some alternatives given in the program, I really made sure that I had those on hand. And the craving for the sugar when I was eating these other things was really great too, as in it went away. So I just make sure today as well still that I have something there. Sometimes I don't use it at all, but it's good to have it. Good to have it there for sure.
Yeah. So, what are the sort of things like the sweet cravings? I remember when I first started eating this way, because I was a chocolate holic. I would eat chocolate all the time, and even in the first year, even for the first year, I still would probably have eaten dairy milk chocolate every week. Okay, and like that's 10 years ago. I don't eat that stuff now. Every now and then I'll still have a lapse. Like I'll pull into a servo, but it's not often. It might be once a year, if that, where, it overcomes me and I grab it and I have to eat it. I start to eat it, but then I feel sick straight away and I toss it out. So it's like, and I go, my brain goes, don't buy that again. You're just wasting money. You just threw out $5, you know? It's like insane.
Yeah.
But what sort of things did you make for yourself to get over those sweet cravings? Because if we have things prepared and we get those cravings for that junk, it makes it easier to not go for the junk and go for these other yummy, healthy, sweet things instead. So what sort of things did you make for yourself?
Okay. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have been doing exactly that. And, I certainly did have some chocolate in that first 12 months. There's no doubt about it. What I did have on hand, though, that stopped me from wanting that every day, compared to, as you say, once every 12 months or so, which is a massive change, is so I make the bliss balls. You have a recipe for bliss balls that doesn't have any oil in it, which was really hard to find, because a lot of people are making the bliss balls and things, or they're available in shops and things, but they're loaded with oil, coconut oil, and heaps of nuts. And so I make the bliss balls, your recipe of the bliss balls. There's a cake that you have, a basic cake recipe, banana and date, which you can change up. So always make sure I bake one of those. And the nice cream. Nice cream's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. My favourite thing.
So, between those, and because, again, you're having whole foods and raw dates. I put the jewel dates in the freezer, and they go almost like a toffee of fudge. And a couple of those, if I get a craving, it just works. So
wow, that's amazing. I've never done that. Freezing the dates. How good is that? That goes like toffee. I like that tip, Julie.
They're like a chewy toffee. So they even stretch a bit. So, mine goes straight in the freezer if I'm not using them for something else in a recipe. But so those alternatives are really good.
I've just had another idea. You could coat them with coat them in like cacao and stuff like that. So it just like you got this chocolate bomb that you pull out and it's stewing.
Like one of those truffles. Yeah, like one of those Belgian truffles that used to have that powdery stuff on the outside. But
totally.
There you are. Yeah, just natural foods.
Natural
naturally
food,
sweet foods.
natural,
and fruit, of course.
Yeah,
fruit's a great snack if you want a sweet hit.
Did you find that foods became sweeter in their natural form the longer you ate this way?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Yeah.
And do you crave things as much now, or?
The only time I think that I get a bit like that is if I haven't eaten well that day, or as well as I would like, or if perhaps I'm a bit overtired, or I haven't had enough water. If sometimes it's things like that, it's not necessarily that I need that substance in my body, that sugary. So, and if I'm not prepared, and I try to make sure that I've got some fruit or some dates or something like that in my bag if I'm out. If I'm at home, it's easy because I can, I've always got that type of thing at home. But what I've found too is if I get those cravings, I look for an alternative in the supermarket. If I'm out and there's one nearby, I go and get some fruit or some dates. And if I'm on my way home, I know there's something at home to have. So I'm not as inclined to just grab it or make a beeline effort to go and get it like I used to before, perhaps.
Yeah. So you avoid those two aisles in the supermarket, one with all the chocolates and the Coke and the chips and the biscuits.
What do they say? Just go round the outside. What's that song?
That's a good tip. So you do that. You shop around the outside. So what does your typical day look like of eating? What do you have for breakfast? What do you have for lunch? We've heard what you have for, your sweet cravings. What do you have for snacks? What do you have for dinner? What's the sort of foods that you would eat?
Okay.
Like at meals. What are your meals?
Yeah. So breakfast is basically a grain of some type, either oats or rice or quinoa. Oats used to be the one, but I've learned that you can have brown rice and quinoa as a replacement for oats. It sort of seemed a bit unusual to begin with. So some sort of grain often.
And do you cook that like into a porridge, or is it a bircher? Or?
Yeah. I it's one or two things. I can soak that overnight so it's ready to go in the morning with the ingredients all in there. Or, I live in Victoria, so it's often cold. So coming into winter, I prefer warm foods. So it'll certainly be a porridge that I make on the stove, or some brown rice more that I put with my plant milk. And then to that I add fruits, and flax seeds are really important for omega-3s and 6s, and I usually put walnuts within my, in my breakfast as well. And then, perhaps a date in there, or some bit of maple syrup, or, a natural sweetener. So they're sort of, that was one of the breakfasts. Or else I really like sourdough bread, wholemeal sourdough bread. That's just really flour, water and salt. That's all the bread's made of, with avocado on top, with maybe spinach, tomato. Or I'll have a cooked breakfast with just greens, mushrooms, tomatoes, avocado, sometimes with toast, sometimes without. So I can have cold breakfasts, or I can have warm breakfasts, but they're much more substantial, and they're obviously comes from plants and grains and plant milks.
They sound pretty good, like plenty of variety there. I just thought of something. You said you lost weight, and it sounds like you eat heaps. How does that happen? Did you find that you could eat a lot more but you still lost the weight?
Well, who's not going to love that? Oh, my goodness. Wow, it's like the biggest secret ever is that, people go insane trying to count calories and to feel deprived, and it's a nightmare, the diet wheel. And so there's no thought at all about that. If you're just eating natural foods, your body will tell you when you've had enough to eat. Some days I eat more than others. I always eat, generally. But the body, it's that same thing. I think that if you give the body the right fuel and are doing the right thing by it, it will give you the signs and indications of what you need to do next. So, to finally be in tune with what's really available to me by using my body's own common sense is awesome. I'm not stuffing it up by putting the wrong things in. So, it's pretty cool that you can eat a really substantial meal, not feel any guilt, actually feel good afterwards, and the other members in the group, it's been their experience as well. You tend to lose the weight you need to lose, and then, which generally takes you into your BMI, and then, I haven't had to worry about it's the last thing on my mind.
And you maintain your weight?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
So that's breakfast. What do you have for lunch?
Okay, so lunch is lunch is a few things. Again, there's always good choices. So there's perhaps a salad with a leafy green base. There's some form of starch, either roasted sweet potatoes or boiled potatoes. Maybe what else goes in there? Some quinoa again, or some rice, and then just loads of other veggies: tomatoes, capsicums, cucumbers, sprouts, avocado, or I make a cashew sour cream, which is just cashews, lemon juice, water and salt. So that can be on top, or we make a homemade hummus, so I can use that as a dressing. It's really important to have the dressing to amp the salad up to next level. So they're things I've got in my fridge, and if I'm going out for the day, I'll make something up, just throw handfuls of that into a container and I'm good to go with some fruit for the day there. I do like a salad, a really good salad sandwich with the same thing, a hummus base or an avocado base with loads of veggies in it. So again, it's that combination, I guess, of the bigger percentage of fruits and vegetables, leafy greens, and your starch and your good fat. So you can do that as long as you look down, whether it's your sandwich or your salad bowl, or a soup even. I do, again, being in Victoria, we eat a lot of soup. And because it's warming. And so, but going into dinner's interesting, because what I found was, because people say, and it gets really tiring, but what do you actually eat? Which is crazy. But what I found was my weekly meals in what I was making didn't really change, but of course the ingredients did. So I still make a spaghetti bowl, bolognese. These are all whole food plant-based, obviously.
So no meat, you use brown pasta, wholemeal pasta instead of white pasta.
Yeah, all whole grain foods. Lasagna, a spag bowl, a curry, a burger, a pizza, chips, but they're all done, baked in the oven. They're using whole plant food ingredients, no oil, and heaps of really yummy spices and chili and garlic and onion, and it's incredible. No, there's no deprivation or boring food. That's the biggest fallacy, I think, is that it's just your life's supposedly over food wise if you stop eating dairy and milk. It's quite mad, really. So
there's a lot more vegetables out there than there is meat and dairy. So much more variety.
When I think about those two foods now, they just seem bland and heavy and dense, and really not offering anything like what plant food offers. So it's quite, it's just what we've been taught, I guess, is these are the primary things that's going to make you feel good, and that has not been my experience at all, having done both.
Yeah, it's interesting when you do both. You give the plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, a really good go. What you've explained, you do start to feel the health benefits, and it's hard to go back to eating those other things once you experience it, because it is a lot of variety. You can make beautiful foods, but it is. What I liked what you said there was, you still eat the same style of meals every week that you used to eat, but you used to have them as meat-based meals and dairy-based meals, but you've been able to switch them over to whole food, plant-based versions of them, which give you so much more health, but you don't feel like you're doing anything different. That's like phenomenal. Now, is it harder to cook this way? Because it can take longer, can't it, to cook this way?
There's definitely more washing and chopping, and because what you have when you come home, what you have on your bench is a whole food. So you need to wash it and chop it and have it ready. It's not like going into the supermarket and buying a box of something that you don't even really know what's in there, that someone else has changed into something that's supposedly food, and then you open it, you tip all of that into a pan or something. So what's great with this is you know exactly what you're eating, you know where it's come from, and you're in charge of what you add to it or don't add to it. So in that way, it takes more time, but it's not a, it's quite, yeah, I find it quite soothing. It's just a routine I've gotten into, and certainly if there's people around that are going to be enjoying it, they need to get a bit involved over here and do a bit of this chopping and washing and whatnot. And the thing is, with your program, Adam, is we shop on a Friday or something, and I mean this is the ideal thing. The shop on the Friday, you come home and you wash and prep over the weekend, and so you're good to go for the week. So in saying that, at times, perhaps with that, even though that's not you get quicker and quicker at that, after that, through the week is just a dream. If you've taken the time to do that, I don't have those days where it's late in the day. I may have eaten the wrong foods during the day. I'm not even hungry. I know some people are going to be coming home who probably haven't eaten. And so, you know, I'm thinking, what am I going to feed them? And then I go out and perhaps don't buy good choices for them, or I don't really want to be cooking it anyway. It's annoying. And so the whole thing around the food is not good health-wise, and also there's certainly no love going into it at that point of the day. So this way, you know, from that point of view too, it's there's a lot more joy in the eating of it, and I don't have to worry. I know I might be out through the day, and I know I'm going to be able to throw something together pretty quickly when I get home. And people in the house, if it's in the fridge, that they've got the skill to do that as well. So I used to. Yeah, it's good. It's a great thing to do as a family if that can happen. If it can't, that doesn't matter either. It's not about trying to do that at all. So no, I actually find it now, and the cleanup is incredible. You're literally rinsing things off. There's no oily, sticky pans and things braising and cooking for hours.
Yeah, what you're saying, you know, with the eating, if you do the preparation, like, you know, you boil up some potatoes or you roast some sweet potatoes and you wash all your lettuces and chop up some celery or make some dressings, like you say, you make hummus and other dressings. If you do spend a little bit of time doing that, like once a week or twice a week, you just open that fridge and there's stuff there that you can just pop together within 5 or 10 minutes. You've got an amazing meal. It can become easier if you do that prep, for sure. I can see how that's happened for you.
And I love it too. There's no waste because, you know, I used to waste a lot of food, you know, embarrassingly a lot of food, because I would buy it, not sure what to do with it, or I'd go out and buy takeaway and not use it. So, you know, the other night you did a live cooking video, and it literally took everything out of the fridge that was still there and created a meal out of it. And I was so impressed. I just thought that's just amazing. Not only have, you know, you've got a fridge full of food there that's good to go for the next week, but the last few bits and pieces there, you made a really tasty meal out of it. And it just, you know, from the perspective of food wastage too, that, you know, that's something I always imagine would be a great way to you know, use your food in that way. But there's no way I was anywhere close to that. But now I feel confident that that's what I do too, and that's what I can do through your example. I mean,
yeah, thanks. Yeah, it is like, you know, what did I have? I had half a corn cob that was already cooked. I had like a little piece of broccoli, and I had a few sticks of celery, and I think I had a few bok choy stems, and I turned it into like this jungle curry, you know, this broth with vegetables into it, which was super delicious. But most people would have thrown that out.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when I saw that cute little single piece of broccoli floret, and I thought, yep, you're going in, you're still good to go. And it's just, it's fantastic. I really enjoyed seeing that being done, because it's important. It's really important not to.
Well, it's really important because Shellhaven Council used to have me teach plant-based cooking from their environmental initiatives, because they wanted to stop food waste going into the tips, the dumps. Because what happens is, when you go put that food waste into the at the tip, it all piles up really high, and it actually doesn't compost. It actually turns into methane gas, and methane gas then heats up the planet like 21 times more than carbon dioxide, which comes out of your car. So it's really this food waste that we're doing, and the amount that's wasted just in New South Wales alone is the same from going from Sydney to Brisbane, 2-lane highways both ways, coming back and going up, full of food every single week gets thrown out.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. So, food waste to me, it's close to my heart, I think, from an environmental point of view, and just more conscious, It's like there's a lot of time and effort has gone into produce that piece of food, from the farmer growing it to harvesting it, getting it to the shops, us having to go buy it, and then, just throw it out. It's sad.
No, it is horrible. And I think, you're more connected to the process when you're doing this, just because you have got that actual whole plant there. And sometimes, I've started growing a few more herbs and things that I probably wouldn't have bothered to do before, because, it's really great to have them there. So, it just puts you more in tune and in touch with you have a say in what you're actually preparing, how you're preparing it, what's going into it. It's a whole circle of really good.
Yeah, it's like you've got more control over your life.
Yeah, so that it's nice. I'm a big fan.
I can tell. Well, look how healthy you look. Like, it's amazing. So what else happened to you guys in your family? Like, your husband, did he start eating the food? Obviously, he did it for the 4 weeks with your daughter.
Yes.
But did he stick with it? And did he have health problems? And what happened to him?
Yeah. Okay. So Steve's my husband, and he's always up for a challenge. So he said, "Yep, count me in," and so that was good. Steve was on two medications. Although his doctor wanted him to be on cholesterol medication as well, but he put his foot down with that himself. So, but probably his cholesterol was too high. So for Steve, and he lost about 10 kilos, and it took 12 months, but he's off all his medication now, his blood pressure medication, which used to make him feel quite ill. He hated taking that. So he's come off that. He had an ulcerated, I think it's called GERD. It's like an ulcerated in your throat, inflammation as well from acidic food. So that he's off that medication as well. And so he's dropped the weight. So he's got a lot more energy. He's having similar experiences to me, and he loves the food. He loves the food. He's still, he's quite a blokey bloke, my husband, and if he's going out with some mates, he'll take his veggie burgers or things. They gave him a bit of a hard time at the beginning, but that never worries him anyway. And
wow, good on him.
So he knows what this food looks like as well, and he often helps me on weekends if he's home to prep some things. So he's got an understanding, and again, because he felt the benefits and able to come off his medications and lost that weight, there was no way he was just going to go, okay, that was great, that was a nice experience, but move aside, I'm going back to doing what I was doing. So, he loves a really good plant-based pizza when we go out for dinner as a couple or a family, because there's 3 of us in the family now. My son doesn't follow it although he enjoys the food when I cook it, because he's outnumbered, we always go to a somewhere where we know they've got some good choices for all vegan food. And yeah, so it's been great as a family, but again, everyone's, you know, I wasn't pushing any of it on anybody because that doesn't work.
Yeah. No, you just got to look after yourself, don't you?
Be the example.
Yeah. Well, Julie, how do you feel now? Like, it's 18 months down the track, your health has changed.
It's ticked a lot of boxes in a lot of areas for me. Certainly stress around food, what to eat, when to eat, worrying about where my health was perhaps headed with cholesterol and weight. I was continuing to get heavier. And with the psoriasis, as I say, I thought that was something I was just going to have to live with. So it's changed my whole life. I love talking to other people who are, you know, we've got a really good community. I feel good, and it's a great place to talk about what you're cooking, what you're eating. We check in on each other. So I'm big on community in whatever area I'm involved in my life. So to have that available is really important to me, and that's certainly available. So, and I'm comfortable in it now. It doesn't feel strange. I don't feel strange eating this way. You know, I say to people, if I won't ask you why you eat meat if you don't ask me why I don't.
That's a good. I've never heard that one before. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just thought to myself, well, gee, why do I also have to seem like I'm the odd one out? So people just know that's how I eat now. And at Christmas time, it's been 2 Christmases now since I've been eating this way. So it's usually at my sister's. So I take the food along and they enjoy it as well. So I don't feel challenged or uncomfortable or feel like I have to explain it anymore. So that's good. It's just what I eat. And so that was good to get to that point of that time of, well, what do I need to eat for great health, and getting into the routine of this is how I eat now, to then taking it out into the world and being comfortable with that as well has been good. Or, you know, all my immediate family and my friends know that I don't eat meat and dairy, and so it's not a big deal. If I'm visiting them, I take some food to share, or I've given them a few recipes and they love it. So I've got a friend who's in her 80s. She's been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and I go and stay with her in Melbourne, and I always take an IFeelGooder recipe with me now, and we cook it together. She's an awesome cook, and so so that's been a nice little thing that we do together, and then she shares it with her friends and family.
Wow.
So
you're spreading the love, you're spreading the goodness,
spreading the love more than I was in the past.
Good on you.
Yeah.
So if you could give anyone that's contemplating eating this way, if you gave them and they came to you and they said, like, Julie, you look amazing, you've got all this energy, you feel really good, what would be 3 little tips you could give them to get started?
I think it's important to maybe do some basic reading on why it's good for health, to give you that bit of just that bit of information on why it might be a good choice to have, so that you're not thinking you're doing something really that's going to go against your health. So maybe some basic information, source some really good recipes, a couple of core recipes that you can start to transition with, and to just keep, if it's you feel that it's something you're really wanting to do, just to keep chipping into it, not to get overwhelmed by it. Or I think with most things it's just slowly as you go, I think, has been my experience with things. And as you start to feel better and get a bit more confident with your choices, then it can grow from there, I think.
That's great.
And to reach out to others that are already living this way, obviously, as examples and for support, it's always important too.
Yeah, they're great.
So I don't know if that was 3 or 4 or 5.
No, well, you give it 4. But number one is to you mentioned to do some research on, to make sure that in your mind you feel comfortable that you're going to get all the nutrients you need, which you do. And number 2, get yourself some good recipes that are whole food, plant-based, based on those principles. And number 3 is to step into it. Focus on progress, not perfection. And the more meals you eat, and you will just feel healthier and healthier, and the more you'll want to keep eating it. Every now and then we will drop the ball. And if we drop the ball, it's okay. Just pick up the ball for your next meal, which is another whole food plant-based meal, and just keep going rather than quitting. Just do another meal, and it starts to snowball. And then the next one you said is get some community around you, because, it's true. The community helps support you, because it can be isolating eating this way.
Yes.
When you're in amongst a heap of people that just eat meat and dairy and eat the old way. So find yourself a community that also eats this way, and you'll find it a lot easier. The other thing I want to ask you is, what tip would you give someone to, help manage that early days when people around them, and you were saying, well, why don't you eat meat? And, you got to have this, and you can't survive off vegetables, or they just give you a hard time, eating this way, which happens to all of us at the start. Everybody, it's everyone's experience. What advice would you give people to help them get through that initial phase to get where you are, where you're super confident now that this is just who I am and this is the way I eat and there's no big deal anymore?
Yes. I think just to remember why you're making this choice for yourself, and that it's your choice. I suppose I'm good at changing the subject. Where if people are just giving me a hard time, to move on past the food thing into something else. But the tip is, I guess, to just be on your, remember why you're perhaps trying to do this, and that really it's a personal choice, and there are other people also eating this way with good benefits. So it's funny, it's often the people that probably are unhealthy and maybe are looking for a way out of that are the ones that maybe give you a bit more flack than the others, because they don't quite know how to get it with what you're doing. That's what I've noticed a bit. The people that are okay with what they're doing and they don't tend to worry too much. But sometimes it's the people that perhaps would like to have that experience.
Give you the hardest time, give you the most flack and more critical. Yeah,
for sure.
So that's a good tip. Remember why you're doing it, and remember that other people have eaten this way and still eat this way and have got through that process, and reaping the benefits. And I also like what you said there. You change the subject. There's no point arguing about it with the other person, because you'll get angry. It's not good for your health when you get angry, and it doesn't create a nice vibe with the other person and yourself. So it's always best to just put the conversation onto something else and get them to talk about them.
Exactly.
I love what you do. Doing it well, so well.
Yeah. So no, it's all doable if
Well, you're doing it, Julie. you are doing it, and you look well, and your family are doing well with it, and I'm super impressed. So, Julie, thank you so much for having a chat and sharing your experience, because, you know, you've done incredibly well, and you look amazing. We should put up a before and after photo of you, because it is. It's so different. It's incredible.
Yeah, it does change. It changes you totally, absolutely, mentally and physically. It's win-win.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
And I'd just like to thank you for doing what you do as well, and encouraging people, and having so much information and support there for people as well. So, big thanks to you as well for everything that you do, Adam.
Thank you, Julie. You're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing, girl, because it's like, you know, we need more and more people to share these skills with people, because so many people are suffering and ill, and there is a very effective way. It's just switching from meat to plants.
Yes, it's very simple. It actually is very simple. But you need the information, and you need the support. But that's there too, and it is growing, which is fabulous. And it's not weird or strange. It's actually very achievable, and which is really good to know too. So, thank you.
Thank you. See you later, Julie. Thanks.
Bye, Adam. Bye.